Alrighty, so I'm kind of mad. I gotta redo a video. It was done, and I realized I didn't do part of the video, so fuck me. Alright, so this is take 2. Action. Alright, anyway, so this is gonna be a 3-prong video. So this is gonna be about Blade Trinity, Blade Saga, and Barb Wire. So 2004, Blade Trinity came out, and I didn't see it in theaters. This is the unrated version. 2-disc set. Disc 1 there. Disc 2 is in the drive because I wanted to see the alternate ending with the Night Stalkers. This is the exclusive comic for it, Night Stalking, which is a direct tie-in to the film. It takes place before Blade Trinity and during Blade Trinity, so they should have adapted this into the film, and that would have made it a lot longer, but it would have been cool. It's a real small ass comic. You get the insert with the chapter list, which is pretty cool. I miss those a lot. There's the title card, ad for The Man and Wedding Crashers, and a show called The New World. Or a movie, my bad. I don't even know what the fuck it's about. So, these are the special features. You get the unrated version and R-rated version, a blooper reel alternate ending, Daywalkers, Night Stalkers, Familiars, Inside the World, 16-part BTS. 2 commentaries. The galleries include the weapons gallery for this, which is pretty amazing, and the visual effects progression as well. So, in Blade Trinity, Blade fights Drake. If you've never seen this, it's really worth it. It's also definitely a 7 out of 10 for me. Like, it's really good. It could have had more, obviously. More as in there should have been backstory on the Night Stalkers, more on Danica Talos and her crew. And just how far, everything really progressed up the food chain and stuff. The cool thing about this with the Blade saga, well, yeah, the whole saga itself, which is 3 films, 2 series, and 1 appearance on Spider-Man back in the 90s. In the Blade trilogy, we'll do that first. In Blade 1, you see him fight Deacon Frost. He becomes Lamagra, the Blood God. In Blade 2, you see Nomak with the Reaper strain virus, which on a global scale is pretty fucked up. But it was really nice. Like, out of all 3 Blade films, I like Blade 2 the most. Like, Blade 2 had the more grounded effect with it, I guess, but with that, I wish they would have had more backstory on the Ripper crew. I think that was their name. Rippers or Reapers, one of them. I don't know. What else? Blade 3. Oh, that's right. They never said what happened to what's her name from Blade 1, the Doctor. Huh, I never noticed that till just now. Wow. Stupid me. Blade 3, you get Blade fighting Dracula, Whistler's death, introduction to Whistler's daughter, Hannibal King. They should have done more backstory on Hannibal King and Danica Talos, even though it's given in the movie, but I think a lot more would have been nicer. What else? I did enjoy seeing Triple H again. That was nice seeing him with long hair. I miss that hair. That's funny. And I have the poster as well, so I'll do a video on that down the road. It would be nice if there had been more on why Dracula actually went to sleep and stuff. I wish they would have done the Night Stalker spinoff, but due to how bad this was, they didn't. And I know the whole story about how high his ass was during most of the production and shit from Patton Oswalt. That was funny. But it didn't detract from it. It was still good. Like, the whole trilogy is solid. And then you have the series, which follows the movie, I think 4 to 6 months later, I think. Something like that. Or a year later, something, ballpark. And that was good layout too. And I've done a review on that as well, so you can check that out on this channel as well. In the very same playlist. Let me see, what else? Then you have the anime series. That came out in 2011. That was really good. I didn't know that existed until... Christ, when did I watch that? Probably early 2010s, so maybe around 2014 or 2015, something like that. It was really cool. That one is basically a retelling of the first movie, but it takes place in Japan, and he fights Deacon Frost, and he fights a group known as Existence. So, that series is definitely a 10 out of 10 for me, because I love anime, and the way that was done up for Blade, beautiful. What else was there? And then his little spot on Spider-Man, 90s Spider-Man for Secret Wars, which I really need to rewatch eventually. That was good. The whole Blade saga, 3 films, 2 shows. I won't really count Spider-Man because that was just a guest appearance, but 3 films, 2 shows. I would definitely say it's a 8 out of 10, honestly. Like, that's a solid number for it, because you get, your enemy, you get your backstories on your villains for the most part. You get a good grounded base. You have Wesley Snipes, and Sticky Fingers. Forgot about him. He did a good Blade. A lot of people didn't. That's one. A lot of people didn't like that because they were hoping that Wesley was coming to Spike TV to do the role, but he didn't. But when one of the things I mentioned about Blade the series in the video review on it is that the demographic for that appealed to women more than men. So there you go. But yeah, 8 out of 10 for all of Blade. And that's really nice. Because it's one of those characters that is different from, your basic hero setup, So, yeah. Alright, so next part of this video is Barb Wire from 1998. That I rewatched. I watched it once when I was younger, strictly for Pam's tits, because everybody was into Pam Anderson back in the 90s, thanks to Baywatch and all that. And then it didn't really dawn on me, like, it was just like, ooh, tits, ooh, cool. Rewatching it 22 years later, now I watch it for the story. And come to find out, it's a comic book film. Yeah. I don't remember what banner it was under. I think it might have been Dark Horse or Image or IDW, one of the 3. But it was done on a shoestring budget of 9 mil, only made a third of it back. And then it was just done for, Pam Anderson's appeal, and even then it was just, it got horrible reviews and just frowned upon, all that shit. If it had come out today, it would have had a much better reception. And because, one, Barb is a standalone woman. She's not reliant on anybody but herself. So there's girl power. The movie itself is provocative, edgier, grittier, and a different take on the superhero genre, or anti-hero, I should say. Vigilante genre, I should say. It would have been much more receptive given today's climate, because we're in the era of women empowerment and all that shit. Um, and it's made for men. It's made by men for men, but when you flip the scope around and look at it through a different lens, you know, it's just my opinion that it's for it's about women empowerment and whatnot. And you can laugh at that. I don't give a flying fuck. It's just my opinion. Um, what else? She has no powers. She manipulates. She does everything for her ends. Her end, I mean. And, like she cares about her brother. She has her bartender, her bar. And only cares about the money as well. Oh, that's one. So, yeah, Barb Wire for me is a 7.9 out of 10. Easily. It's aged decently because, it's been 2 decades since I watched it. And back then, in the 90s, comic book films were so common and popular, well, not popular, but sort of common because, every so often it was, disaster film, war film, historical film, and then, a hero film and whatever else came out, fantasy, all that bullshit, sci-fi. And, there were a few comic book films that did pop up in the 90s. There were a good handful of them and shit. And back then, CBMs weren't popular. They weren't, a thing. They weren't, super big deal. Like the most popular aspect of the 90s with that was on TV with, X-Men, with Marvel and DC and all that. And that was about it. Film-wise, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a thought. Not until, was it 98? So 11 years later. No, not 11. 10. A whole decade later. 2008. When Iron Man was made. But yeah, that's a huge thing, because when you look at Barbed Wire from when it first came out to now, it's aged slightly good, in my opinion. It has definitely gives you a whole new look on a comic book heroine, which is nice. And it's one of those that I can actually say it's a top comic book film for me, because I'm tired of, like, there's no films out now. There's nothing really popular that I like anymore. So I go back to the past. And in the past, you can find other gems that were overlooked and shunned because they didn't make any sense or they didn't get the reception they were supposed to get. And then years later, they become a cult classic. And Barbed Wire does deserve another chance at, the comic book spotlight, honestly. That's just my look on it. It's a good, solid story. It was done on a small budget. And, it wasn't even trying to be anything. It was just, back then it was about Pam's sexuality and shit. And now her sex appeal was so amazing. But when you take that aspect away and then look at it from a comic book perspective, it's a really good story. It's fleshed out and it makes sense. It might come off as cheesy, but it's really good. And you also get to see Jango Fett 3 years before he made his debut in Attack of the Clones. Ain't that some shit? That was pretty cool. Who else? Udo Kerr was in it. I probably butchered his last name. He was in that a year before he did Blade in '99. So that was nice. But it was just, it's really interesting to see how everything has, changed. And for me, anyway, how everything's changed in 20 plus years. So, comparing the whole Blade saga to Barb Wire, Blade wins, obviously. But I still give props to Barb Wire for being something that it wasn't trying to do. And for the fact that it was, early day comic book films and whatnot, and they were overlooked. So yeah, Blade wins this. Um, would I recommend these to you? Yeah, of course. If you are a Marvel fan or comic book fan in general, and you like getting comic book films to watch, even if they're good or bad, or you just need something to watch, these are for you. If you don't like the casting, the directors, the art, the time and money went into this, you won't like this. If you don't like a black lead and you're a racist motherfucker, you can go fucking die. Plain and simple. I don't mince words. um, if you like a female lead, definitely going to be up your alley. If you don't, and you are the type that, women have to make you a sandwich and just be your fucking servant, you can die too. But if you don't like any of that, that's cool. It's whatever. If you do, there you go. Let's see what else. If you don't like if you don't like a whole saga of a character, you won't like Blade. If you do, you will enjoy it. Because once again, you get to see him through three different lenses. You get to see him in movie form, TV form, well, movie form and two forms of TV, but also get to see him animated as well. If you aren't into vampires and heroes or heroines without powers, you won't like these. So that's what I got. So I'll be back a little later. I got another vid to do, so stay tuned.